Hey guys, Chris the Ultimate Recycler. The time has come for another episode of the emergency storage shed. Let's swing the camera around and see how far it is. Way down the back there, it's miles away. Well, it's a few steps. It's a lot further than it used to be. So this will be episode 148. We're getting something out of this shed every week. It's a commitment. It was the only way I was ever going to get it done. We've been, 148 weeks. What's that? Pushing up towards 3 years. We're getting to some interesting stuff on a shelf in the middle of the room. Let's go and have a look what we've got today. Goodness, it's almost time to pack a lunch to get back here. So it's a fairly long shed. I didn't actually measure it. We can see the back wall now, which doesn't look that far away from there, but there's a lot of boxes between us and the back wall. Plus, I haven't actually got to this shelf on this side. So there's lots of interesting boxes, vintage stereo equipment. Oh, not the welder. I put that there. I think we dug that out of the middle of the shed. There's some pretty interesting old timber boxes and stuff down there. This shelf in the middle, a lot of people have been waiting for. We started on the top last week. That grey crate guaranteed will not have ribbons in it. And I think there's probably a really interesting mix in that. I'm not sure. We're going to get into that today. Then we have down the next shelf, I know I always kind of pan ahead, but it builds the anticipation. We have an old clock, a wall clock, probably a railway station clock or a school clock, a large Bakelite valve radio, the back of something vintage hi-fi. I think it's Sansui, and judging from the speaker outputs, it must be an amplifier. And I know there's someone in particular waiting to see that. Some military type boxes. I don't know what's in that satchel. More vintage electronic stuff down there. A box of assorted stuff. I can see woodworking tools. There's a pokerwork vase on top. So that might be a big mixture of anything in that box. Now, I do pan ahead because remember, and I also tell the story quite often of how this stuff got here. I'm a second-hand dealer. I had a shop for 20 years and I had to move, and all my store sheds behind that were full of treasures, and some of the boxes I haven't even opened. Now, I do go through this story regularly because while I'm talking, we'll peek in the top, because YouTube analytics tell me that my videos are watched by, I think, 80% people haven't even subscribed to the channel. They might be first-time viewers. What can you see in there? I can't see that. So, yeah, a lot of you come along and have a look at this video and you have no idea what the background is. I know the regulars probably get sick of the story. Here's a question. Put in the comments what that is. I know what it is. Bit of a mystery item. We won't look any closer. I'm sure someone will pick it. It's quite an old item, that one. All right, that looks like an old esky too, with the tartan pattern there. They're quite collectible, but that one doesn't look like it's that good condition. Let's get this grey crate into the bench without any further ado and start going through it. Okay, so standard procedure in this series is I show you how far we've got in the shed. I carry a box through. I quite often whinge about how heavy it is, and I'm going, oh, look at all this cool stuff. And it just seems to be the format that's developed. I hope it's working all right. If you've got any suggestions to how else I can introduce these videos, by all means, let me know. Let's get into this. There is a mixture of everything. It is enormous fun unpacking these boxes. And as I mentioned, sometimes I've cleaned out people's sheds and we've been under pressure to remove stuff. Often the property is sold and we've got to clean the place out before settlement date. And sometimes we just move boxes and we just make sure it's not rubbish. We don't really look in them though. Here's a nice draftsman set. Compasses. Various drawing tools. That's quite nice. Looks basically complete. And yeah, so I might own a very, very valuable rare treasure in this shed and not even know it. Some boxes I get excited about and they turn out to be a bit of a flop. That's nice. Japanese little, are they sake cups? Or mini tea. It's too small for, well, they're too large for an egg cup. And perhaps they're too small for tea. Not sure. But it's cute in the original box. I would say that's probably, it looks sort of 70s, that style of box. So that's nice. Very colourful. Japanese porcelain. All right, what else have we got? Let's keep going through it. So yeah, ask any questions in the comments if you like about how I found this stuff, if you didn't catch the explanation or what I'm going to do with it. Most of you know I've got a second-hand shop and we sell all the stuff. These are just clothes brushes, and they're basically just to brush down like lint off your clothes and that sort of stuff, I guess. People don't kind of brush their clothes anymore, but I think it was a thing back in the day. Probably the type of material the clothes were made from. So that's a nice little set. It looks like they had a price on it. I can't read it, but this stuff may have come from, I've mentioned a few times, a deal that I purchased about 15 years ago, that there was a lot of stuff stacked in someone's shed that came from a charity shop. They used to work there, and for some reason or another, a lot of it ended up at their place, so I don't know the backstory to that. This is very heavy. What's in this? Well, it's not that old, it's got a barcode on it. And, oh, it's a Christmas ornament, is it? A heavy piece of glass. Oh yeah, look at that. So it looks like a North Pole type scene. Very heavy glass. Oh, is it a candle holder? Or maybe you just put twigs of holly or something in there. Oh, it is branded. Original Walther glass. Okay, so it's not a cheap item. It says that there. It's a bud vase, okay. Original Walther glass. So that's made in West Germany. All right, well, that's a very nice piece. I think we'd get a bit for that. And that looks like it says 30 on that sticker. Was there a sticker on the other side? Oh no, we saw a sticker on the other thing. So that must have been the charity shop price. Unless someone's had a garage sale, but okay. Well, we might get a bit for that. Particularly this time of the year. All right, we have something wrapped up in paper. Oh, I think we have a few electric jugs in here. It seems to be the theme. And the paper dates when I packed this up was around about 2008, I think. And that's exactly what it says. November the 1st, 2008. Now this isn't an electric jug. This is a kind of 50s Art Deco era jug or pitcher. And I'd say it's English, yeah, made in England. There's an E20 stamp on it. It's got a bit of a chip to the bottom there. I think these were painted. I don't think, yeah, they were. That's not the glaze. It's actually been painted, and the paint does eventually come off these. You can see quite a lot of marks around the top. But nice mid-century Art Deco English jug. You could certainly use it as a vase. Looks like it's not cracked, so it would hold water. Okay, nice piece. All right, there's a bottle here, which is Teacher's Scotch. Not super old, probably 1970s. It's got a plastic top. I don't think it's worth a great deal. It's certainly way too modern for me. I collect more antique bottles. And I don't know what sort of value it would have. Someone would probably like it on their bar as a bit of a decorator item. You could probably fill it with cold tea and make it look like you've got a bottle of Teacher's Scotch. So probably only $5 or so. I will check eBay to see if they sell. There's a box here, Drambuie liqueur. And this box is heavy. Surely it's not a full bottle of Drambuie. Let's open it up. It is indeed a full bottle of Drambuie, sealed, never been opened, been sitting around a long time because the top of the glass looks very stained. May have been in a bar in a shed or something, but there we go. Now, I'm not licensed to sell alcohol. I can't really put it in the shop, but it's a genuine product of Scotland, Drambuie liqueur. Okay, I might have to see if any of my friends want that for Christmas, maybe. In original box. Well, the box is probably worth something. It's in mill, but it has a really old look to the printing and the picture. I don't know when it would date to. It could date back to the 80s, maybe even the 70s. Okay, wow, I didn't expect that. Here we have an electric jug, so we have two electric jugs in here. These are very common. Bakelite lid. It's It's got the element in it. It looks like that one would actually work. You can, and I've got some of these new old stock elements in the shop. You might even be able to still buy them. As far as electric jugs go, these are pretty boring. We'd probably get $10 for it. Doesn't have the cord, although I think, does this? Oh, it does have a cord. Okay. I do have to be very careful selling it with these cords because they're not safe. These have the old rubber insulation on the wiring. Has an original Bakelite plug, which I get $5 for those plugs anyway. This fitting looks like it's damaged. It's opened up a bit at the back here. It's a bit corroded on the terminals. I could probably sell it with a danger sticker, which I have with my test and tag kit, just to say warning, do not use, because this wiring would not be safe. But it's kind of nice to keep the original plugs with it. I'm probably only going to put, well, I'd put $15 on it, given that I can get $5 for the plug. I think we'll put $15 in. It does need a bit of a wash up. The other one's even more boring. Not quite as old. It's a Speedy, probably more 1970s. This one probably goes back to the 60s, at least, may even be late 50s. This one's probably late 60s into the 70s. And it's plain white. It has a spare new element. Oh, I've already got a few in the shop, which I've got $5 on. I haven't actually sold one. This one does need a new element. I'm not sure if you can see in there, but the old element's coming apart. So perhaps we can leave that one in with that one. But again, the cord is the older style. And that is actually broken on the side. So you can't use that. It's certainly not safe. Again, the plug's in good condition. So maybe I should chop these up, sell the kettles without a cord, get my $5 plug, get some wire for my scrap bins. And that one is broken, so we can't use that at all. Interesting, the cords are about, I don't think this cord suits, well, it would plug in, but I think this cord's older than what this jug is. Anyway, I have to work out what to do there. Not much value though, maybe only $5 to $10 for that jug. And we've got the cords and that one. Okay, what else is in here? There's one more item in the bottom here. And it's a selection of perfumes, is it? Gala de Paris. It's got 50 cents written on Texter. Why do people write prices on cardboard with Texter? It ruins them as far as collectability goes. So this, I think this is a perfume, like a gift set. Oh, look at that. It is. It's only got a few of the bottles left. Really cute little French perfume bottles. They come out. They're empty, but they fit in very snugly, so they're definitely right ones for this box. Oh yeah, cardboard really holds onto them. So I don't think they've got a lot of value. It's a shame they're not all in there. We may be able to put $5 on it. Cute, but not much value. And that's all we've got in this crate. So we probably should get another box, don't you think? Or at least something else off that shelf. Okay, what are we going to grab then? So we've cleaned the top of that shelf off. You can see more of that esky now. It's definitely quite rusty and not in very good condition. You can also see more of that mystery object. Any guesses? Put them down below. All right, I'm not going to reach through there yet. We've done the top shelf. The next shelf has the clock, the radio, and these other frames that I moved down here when we did something. I had to move something. They're very early. They're like a diorama type frame, 3D. And that one looks like it had a photo in the middle of it. What are we going to do? They're dovetailed. All right, we'll take them through and have a bit of a look at them. And maybe we'll just check out the clock. I'm not going to restore anything in this series. They'll be separate videos if I do decide to keep things to restore. And I have got quite a few things put aside, enough for at least, let's say 50 years of YouTube videos. So but that's not going to stop me. If I want to restore something, or I think I might one day, I'll put it aside and I may never get to it. Let's be honest. A lot of us have projects that we never get to, and our kids have to sort it out when we're gone. I don't know, I'll deal with that down the track, or my kids will. So we'll have a look at those frames. We'll get the clock in on the bench and have a look at that. And that means next week we'll be looking at that Bakelite radio. We might try and power it up. see if it's complete. We'll talk about that then. Okay, back to the bench. But before I bring that other stuff through, we have to deal with this that I got out of the crate, and I've cleaned everything up. I've done a bit of checking. It actually cleaned up very well, most of it. The standout, I think, was that electric jug. Even though it's a plain one, it cleaned up really nice. The Bakelite's nice and shiny. I've decided to leave the cords with the plugs, but I will put a safety tag on to say they're not safe to use. This one, I didn't even untie it because the cord is so brittle that is absolutely solid, like high tensile fencing wire. It will not flex at all. So guaranteed that is definitely dangerous to use. So I'll sell them as they are. I thought I might even try 20 on that one. We'll just go 10 on that one. I thought I'd go 20 on the West German, well, it's kind of a paperweight / bud vase. And just with dating these things, I just thought I might talk a little bit about how I know how old things are. You obviously get used to it when you're dealing with secondhand stuff all the time. The barcode's a dead giveaway. In Australia, they introduced the barcode around about 1980 or 81. I believe the very first business in Australia to use a barcode was a supermarket in Melbourne in 1979. But essentially, around about 1980 onwards, barcode. I think in the US it was a little bit earlier. But it's a good guide. And this was made in West Germany, remember? And West Germany ceased to exist in 1989, so that definitely puts that in the 80s bracket. What else was I talking about date-wise? The bottle of Drambuie, I cleaned that up. Now, the box for it looks decidedly 50s. It's got a real 50s look to it, the colours, the graphics, but I think that was made to look that way. It's not as old as the 50s. It is metric. It's in 680 mil. And you'll see it says imported by the United Distilleries of Melbourne. I quickly asked Google AI about that. I'm not such a fan of AI, but sometimes with research, it's pretty handy for garnering information on companies and that sort of stuff. And I found out the United Distilleries were taken over in 1997 by the UK-based Diageo, I think the company is. So it's definitely before 2000. And I also checked out the Drambuie Liqueur Company, and they stopped bottling alcohol in 2001. So both of those pieces of information date this basically before 2000. And as I said, the metric in Australia would date it to after 1974 as far as volumes go. So I'm leaning probably towards the 1980s, around about that era. It could be the 90s. But at least, you know, some clues like that. I didn't look any further. There might be some other clues I could Google and pin the date down a little bit more. But it's interesting to know these things and to be able to research them just to help you date things and give you a bit of an idea. Certainly the barcode and West Germany are good clues. What else did we find? Well, I checked this online on eBay, the Teacher's whiskey bottle or Scotch bottle. A lot of Teacher's stuff is quite collectible. It's not super old. I didn't actually bother trying to find a date on this. I would think probably 70s by the look of the plastic top, maybe 80s. And I did find one that sold for $30, buy it now, but that was the only sale I found. And I don't think that's indicative of a average price for those. Buy it now prices sometimes are way out of the range of what you would normally expect to get. I'm going to put $10 on it though, all the same. I think we'll go 15 on that English jug and probably 10 on the little Japanese sake cups. I'm assuming that's what they are. And maybe 10 on the brushes here. They cleaned up quite well. The little writing set was quite nice. I could not find a brand on it, but it's pretty clean. It looks to be basically complete. And I thought I might try $20 on that, see how we go. We can always drop it if they don't sell. So there we go. That was that crate full. Let's get those other frames in and the clock, and we'll finish up this episode with a bit of look at those and see what we think they're worth. Now with the room on the bench, we have these other two items to check out. I'm not sure what we're going to do with these. I mean, I don't want them. We're going to sell them. The clock I might do a restoration on. I just can't help myself. As far as this goes, I don't know much about this. I think it's quite old. It looks like it's carved from one piece of timber. It's got the very old style nails that you see behind old picture frames. Looks like it had a hanger there that's perhaps broken out. Now, do they call this sort of chip carving from the 1920s? It looks a bit like it. Little decorations around the sides. But it's very oriental. Is it Japanese? It looks Japanese to me with those buildings. It could be quite an old piece. Maybe it was a souvenir brought back from the war, or possibly quite old, much older than World War II, particularly with those old nails in it. I don't know anything about this. I'm not sure what to price it at. I'm probably going to have to put it aside for now and do some research. I'm welcome to any input if any of you guys know anything about this. It looks like there was an old photo in it, and that's very faded, but I'm pretty sure that's where it come from. It's quite it's the right shape, and I don't know whether it had glass in it originally. I can't get that back in there now, but you can see that's what it would have been. Geez, that photo looks early 1900s, even late 1800s. I'm not sure if you can get much of a view on that. It's quite faded. But then it looks to be a more modern card at the back. I'm not sure, honestly. I think the photo may have been stuck on card. Don't know. This isn't something I've ever seen before. My gut feeling is I'd put $20 or $30 on it in the shop just purely because it's a beautiful piece of carving. It's certainly not what you see in more modern times. You get this decorative 3D type, looks like carving, but it's actually just resin. But this is carved. It's a one piece of timber. It's decorated around the sides. Amazing. It might be worth a lot more than that. Is this the real treasure that I didn't know I had? Need more research on that one? Honestly, don't know. This one looks like a 3D type frame, maybe even a little trinket box, shadow box. It doesn't have any shelves in there. There's a screw coming through the back. It's quite old. It's I think it's a veneer, but it's over timber that's been dovetailed. Very old, fine dovetails, hand cut. It looks early 1900s to me. Maybe it was homemade. Looks a little bit good to be just homemade. Had a hanger on the back, so it's for hanging on a wall. Perhaps it was a religious frame where you had something was attached in there, probably through that screw. Maybe it was a statue of Jesus or some religious type figurine. Little Gothic in the style, so it's starting to open up in a few spots, which you would expect to see on timber that's over 100 years old. It does shrink, and miter joins and that sort of stuff do open up over time. So it's a really nice piece. It's probably like a burr walnut type timber. Not sure how much of the timber you're seeing through the camera. It's probably quite reflective. I think I'm just going to clean that up and maybe put, again, perhaps $20 or $30 in the shop, just because it is a very nice old piece and it could be refashioned to show off anything, even though whatever was in there originally isn't there anymore. So really interesting pieces, those. I will just clean them up a little bit, just brush the dust off them. And I'm open to suggestions on what I should. Maybe that actually came from in there. Does that look right? I don't think so. Although that screw does match up with the hole. So there we go. Maybe it was one item. So I wouldn't have picked the surround as being oriental, but the centerpiece certainly is. I'm pretty sure that's what it is now. So it's an elaborate 3D photo frame, and I did think both of the pieces were very old, and that would work. They're obviously about the same age. Okay, well, I've discovered something whilst talking it through. I don't know what to put on it still. Gut feel now is at least $50, maybe $75, $80, but I'm only guessing because I don't really know the origins of this and even what it's called. Fantastic. Maybe we should leave that photo with it as well. All right, I'd be interested in your opinions on that. Now the clock. What are we going to do with the clock? Well, we don't have time in this video to get into too much detail. Maybe we should see if it runs. What do we got? Well, it's a 14-day clock, so that's basically wind it once every 2 weeks. It's just a striker. It has 2 wind holes, so one will be for the clock, one will be for just a gong or some sort of chime, usually counting the hours. So when it's 3 o'clock, you get 3 gongs. Quite often when it's half past something, you just get 1 gong. Some clocks have a separate bell for the half past. The crossed arrows, I think that's HAC, which stands for Hamburg American Clock Company, something like that. I'm going on memory here. And that's a German clock company. So even though it says American, it's actually German. It's got the pendulum in it, which feels like it's still attached to the movement, and that shouldn't have really happened. You should take the pendulum off the movement when you're transporting them. I'll unhook it now. So, nice adjustable pendulum. So, of course, you adjust the length of the pendulum to make the clock go faster or slower. We can't really see the movement unless we take the face off. So maybe we should. Maybe we should have a bit of an inspection and see if the thing will run before we finish this video up. If it does run, I'm pretty much just going to give it a wipe over, not do a restoration at all, and we can sell it as a going clock. If it doesn't run, then the dilemma is, do I keep it and fix it, or do I just sell it as is? The timber work's not too bad. So yeah, it would have been probably in a school or a railway station. These clocks were typically used in those situations, just hanging on the wall. So they're often called a school clock or a railway station clock. It would date to early 1900s. So let's take the face off and have a look at the movement. Okay, now there's a latch at the back here, usually to lift, there we go, to lift the glass off so that you could adjust the time if you needed to. And the hands have to come off first, and there's a little tapered pin that goes through the middle. We'll see if we can remove that carefully. There we go. And there's a domed washer. And the hands will just lift off. Oh, there was 2 domed washers and another flat washer. Interesting. And the hour hand should lift up as well. They just press on. The paper looks pretty clean. It's usually just a paper stuck down over the... Oh, there's a couple of washers there, are they? They're not magnetic either. I think the papers can be replaced. The paper's just stuck over a plate. So this may have been done because it looks a little clean to be 100 years old. All right, now we have 3 screws holding the face on. The door looks pretty good, and fortunately the hinge is nice and sturdy. Sometimes you can't leave the weight of the door resting on the hinge or it'll pull the screws out. Okay, now we'll lift the face out of the road, and it shows us the movement. It looks pretty clean in there. I'll get the camera a bit closer and we'll have a look. Okay, it all looks pretty good. It has the mainsprings. There's one for the chimes or the striker, and there's one for the clock. They're in enclosed barrels, so you can't really clean and lube the springs without a full dismantle of the movement. If I'm going to do a full service on it, it is a big job to completely dismantle this, put it all back together after cleaning it properly and checking all the pivots. I'd prefer not to do that at this stage because I don't have time, and if that was the case, I'd have to put it aside until the cows come home, when I finally get time to do things like that. It looks in pretty good nick though. There's the trip for the strike, and you can see that's working well. And you can see the coil at the back here, which provides the gong noise. That works well. I can't see any really obvious wear to the pivots. It's pretty hard to appraise them properly with the movement in. I'd need to let the springs down and take the whole movement out of the case and put pressure on all the gears to see if there's any apparent wear in the pivots. But first impressions, it actually looks quite good. So hopefully the thing runs, it's complete. And obviously the chime part works. So maybe we'll prop it up vertically and get the thing level and see if it will actually tick. I'm in the studio now where at least I have a little bit of wall space to hang the clock, and it's running beautifully. It's been running for an hour. I put the hands back on it and I cleaned the glass, as you can tell. Hopefully you can tell. I've put the hands back on it and set it to the right time. It's coming up to 11:30 now. At the half an hour mark when it was on 11, it had lost 2 minutes. So I've adjusted the pendulum, and it's a matter of just keep doing that adjustment. And I haven't finished cleaning the case, as you can see here either. And I will leave it run for quite a while and just keep adjusting the pendulum. It should keep pretty good time. I suspect this clock has been overhauled in relatively recent times. The fact that the paper looked way too good for a 100-year-old clock, it's been replaced fairly recently. The movement is so nice and clean with no dribbles of old oil or dust stuck to it anywhere. And the hands are very glossy black. They've either been repainted or someone has replaced them. And also the fact that there was a couple of different dome washers there. I think someone's who knows what they're doing has done work on this clock fairly recently. It certainly runs well. I'm not going to pull it apart or anything like this. I'll just put the face back on it. It's coming up to 1:30. We'll get one, there we go, one gong for 1:30. So it is working very well. I'll finish cleaning it up. I'll put the face back on it. It can go to the shop as a going clock. And there, yeah, I found a key for it as well. The springs wound up nicely. Everything works beautifully. So I'm pretty happy with that. I don't have to do any work to it other than finish cleaning it up. Obviously put the face back on, and we will then have to find somewhere in the shop to hang it. And there you have it, a beautiful early 1900s HAC clock, which is, I did look it up, it is Hamburg American Clock Company. The HAC stands for something slightly different in German, but that's essentially what it means. And it was probably made late 1800s, 1890s into the early 1900s. And known, as I mentioned earlier, as probably either a school clock or a railway clock. So that's nice. And value-wise, I think probably a couple $100, $250, something like that. 20 years ago, it probably would have been worth $800 or more, but that's the nature of antiques, unfortunately. But I'm going to enjoy having it in the shop while it's there. Back at the bench now with these two items all cleaned up, and they present absolutely beautifully. I cleaned the clock case up and I'm amazed how nice it looks. There is a bit of a scrape there, which I could probably colour with a little bit of nugget or texture or something. I'm not going to bother because it's part of its story. But the timbers come out really nicely. I just used this Howard's Restorer Finish product. I've used it before and it does work quite well. It's great at revitalising old finishes. It's very easy. You basically just wipe it on and buff it off. And I've even done the outer case of this frame. So they've cleaned up well. And with that in mind, I'm going to up the price of the clock a little bit, and I'm going to put $275 on it in the shop. You can't even tell there's glass in it. It's that clean. It's amazing how well that cleaned up. It looks good with the newer, I'm sure that's a newer paper label. I don't know how new, but I'm sure it's not original. But it probably would have had the crossed arrows for HAC on the original paper. But that's fine. It's a beautiful example of an early wall clock in really good running condition. So $275, I'm going to enjoy having that in the shop. And the frame, well, I've learned a bit about these. I'm pretty sure it's what they call chip carved. And that was really popular in the late 1890s through the 1920s with the arts and craft movement. And I think it's English. Certainly the outer casing looks a little Gothic, and the burr walnut's kind of an English type thing. And the English back then were quite taken with Oriental stuff. There's a lot of Japanese and even early Chinese influences in some of the English stuff from back that period. So that kind of all works. And the picture looks quite, well, English, I guess. I think that's probably late 1800s from the dress there. So a really nice piece. I'm going to put $80 on that, and I think that's probably cheap, honestly. I did a bit of searching online and did not find anything quite the same. A lot of similar type chip carving picture frames were selling for around about that money. We'll see how we go, but that's really added some beef to our notepad. And if we look at our total and we include all the stuff we got out of the crate, it's rounded it off at $500. I didn't plan to do that. That's just what it added up to. So the prices earlier, I don't think I changed much. I did put 25 on the boxed bottle of Drambuie. I think I'll get that for it. The other stuff, yeah, pretty much as described. So nice haul today. Some really nice quality pieces for the shop and a beautiful bottom line on the notepad. So if we keep finding good stuff like this in the shed, we're going to blow out the total much higher than what I expect. This was a good week. Really happy to find this, particularly the fact that the clock goes nicely without any input from me as far as time goes, other than a bit of a cleanup. Our grand total for that shed now is, what are we at? $26,700. Adding $500 to it today was fantastic. A couple of really nice things for the shop and some pretty quirky stuff out of that crate. So really happy with today's haul. Now I'll either go and take it to the shop and price it all, or I'll go and sit down and have a Drambuie. Maybe not, I've got too much to do. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.